Okay, so this is the test setup, like 2 factoring questions, 2 of the double angle, 2 of the half angle, 4 of the triangles that involve the double angle and half angle.
This is going to take you long.
And then 2 reviews. Do what?
This is going to take you forever.
Yeah. So I'm going to make the T-chart A times C, so that is A times C, which is 8 times negative 6, which is negative 48. B is negative 13, and it goes there. Alright, so now you need to do factors of 48 that add to give you negative 13. Multiply to give you negative 48. 6 and 8 is 14. And then, so what's the most common thing that I told you? There's 2 numbers I told you that multiply to give you 48 that you see a lot. 16 and what? 3. 16 times 3 is 48. You see that a lot. Which one needs to be negative? 16.
Oh, yeah.
How do you know which one?
So the next part is just put whatever A is on top. You can put the X or you cannot put the X. It doesn't matter. Negative 16 goes under one, 3 goes under the other, and simplify if you can. So the 8 will go into 8 one time, 8 will go into 16 2 times. I can't simplify 8 and 3.
What happens if I
So here, alright, so now our parentheses are going to be x minus 2 and 8x plus 3 equals 0. So this problem will tell you to solve for x. So all you've got to do to solve for x now is set each of these parentheses equal to 0. I did that. X minus 2 equals 0 and 8x plus 3 equals 0. So here x would be equal to 2. Here x would be equal to negative 3 over 8. If you don't know what the radians are, you can multiply by 180 over pi. So those pi's would cancel. Yeah, 3 goes in there once, 3 goes into there 60. 4 times 60 would be 240 degrees. Yes. So really we want to find the cosine of 240 degrees using the double angle formula.
I thought we were doing half of
The formula. So we want to find what A is. We plug A into the formula. It's a double angle formula. That's what we want to do. So we want to do what with what we're given. We want to take half of 240. So it's 120. So if I want to just copy the formula down, it's it's double angle, and we're wanting to find cosine. So the cosine of 2 times A is equal to the cosine squared A minus sine squared. Sine squared A. So now I'm just going to replace A with 120 everywhere in the formula. So that's cosine. The cosine of 2 times 120 is equal to the cosine squared of 120 minus sine squared of 120. So all I did was, after I found out what A was, I replaced A
you wrote no on there.
with everything in the formula.
I didn't change it.
Okay. So there, so the cosine, 2 times 120 is 240. That's why we had to choose. That's why we wanted to choose A as 120, so it would give us the cosine of 240, which is what we want to find. And it's equal to what the cosine squared of 120. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to square whatever the cosine and sine of 120 is. What's cosine of 120 is what you have to find from your unit circle. It's 1/2. Is it positive or negative? Negative. It's negative 1/2 because it's in the second
Oh
quadrant.
yeah, negative.
Alright, then from there it's just multiplying it out. Cosine of 240 is equal to 1/2 squared is 1/4. Negative 1/2 squared is 1/4. minus the square root of 3 over 2 squared,
So 3 over 4.
3 over 4. So then the cosine of 240 is 1 minus 3, since they have a common denominator. 1 minus 3 is negative 2 over 4, which is negative 1/2.
Wait, why is it negative?
Where
That's crazy.
we have to use pi over 8 times 180 over pi. So the pi's would cancel, and you'd have to do 180 divided by 8, which you'd have to work that out. It's not even.
Oh.
So it's going to be the cosine.
It's 22.
So it's 22.5.
How would you know that without?
22.5. So what do I need to do with that? Yeah, double it.
Shane, how you feel about that?
So-
football game tomorrow?
So I really want to, so my A is going to be
44, no, 45.
45.
45, right.
So the cosine, since it's a half angle, cosine of A over 2,
Ooh, it's happening, we don't have to memorize it. Let's do that
Right.
up there.
you don't have to memorize the formula.
Hey, why'd you change the data on that?
I don't know. It doesn't matter what the variable is.
Oh, I'm using
A or theta, it
A.
doesn't
Oh,
matter.
we're talking about lag right now.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a lag. Alright, so when we plug this in, I'm going to replace A with 45 everywhere. So that's equal to plus or minus square root. Oh, it's not writing. Okay. Alright,
45,
so from there, I don't know why it's lagging so bad. Alright, so
over 2.
the cosine of 45 divided by 2 is 22.5, which is what we wanted. So it should work out like that every time. Alright, what quadrant is 22.5 in?
The first. Wait a second. Why are we doing this? What are we doing?
I don't want to test your knowledge of whether you can rationalize that or not, so I'm going to let you leave it like that.
Why? All
Sweet.
you gotta do is time the root of.
So since this is between 0 and 90 degrees, so that means it's in the first quadrant. That's what this means. Theta is in between 0, pi over 2 is 90. So in between 0 and 90 puts it in the first quadrant. And we're not going to see any triangles like this tomorrow. None. Because that's wrong.
No, you're. Come on, now, time.
No. Sorry. Okay, so from here, now I got to do SOHCAHTOA. Alright, and that's going to tell me which two of my sides of the triangle, then I have to find the third one. So the 2 root 5 over 5, cosine is what in SOHCAHTOA? Adjacent over hypotenuse. Adjacent is always the side on the x-axis, so adjacent is always that side right there.
So adjacent is 2 square root of 5.
Yes, and the hypotenuse
Is
is 5.
and since it's clear not a triple,
Yeah, right, so you've got to use Pythagorean theorem.
I use Pythagorean theorem.
Okay, so we have to set up Pythagorean theorem. Since we have the hypotenuse is always c squared. But we got so here the Pythagorean theorem, we set it up since the hypotenuse is always c squared.
Correct.
So I don't know this other leg, so I'm just leaving it as b squared. All right, if I square 2 root 5, it's 2 times 2, which is 4. Square root of 5 times square root of 5 is 5. 4 times 5 is 20.
Sorry, I can't hear.
This is 2 root. This means 2 root 5 times 2 root 5. This is algebra 1. 2 root 5 times 2 root 5.
So it's just 4 root 10.
No, I'm multiplying that together. It's 4 times square root of 5 times square root of 5 is 5. So 4 times 5 is 20.
What?
You square 2, and then you square the square root of 5.
That takes that away.
Square root of 5 times square root of 5?
Oh, okay, so you're just multiplying the 2 and the 5. No.
Yeah.
No, you're
Well,
not.
this is
Why?
2 squared.
Yes, that's
It's 4.
I don't understand.
Okay, so then subtract 20, subtract 20. B squared equals 5, so B is square root of 5. And that's not really the answer that we want. So this is square root of 5. Then we want to find the cosine of 2 theta. That's what we want to find. So cosine of 2 theta is the formula that you will have to remember. So it's cosine squared theta minus sine squared theta. If you want to use A, I do not care. That's fine with me.
What are you talking about?
So this tells you what 2 things we need to know from the triangle. We need to know the cosine and the sine. Alright, so I'm going to square the cosine, I'm going to square the sine from the triangle. So it already gave us the cosine here, right? So I can go ahead and plug that in. Can plug that in.
So how are we gonna know the sign? Oh, we just look at the
Sine,
triangle.
yeah, what sine in SOHCAHTOA?
Opposite over
Hypotenuse, so that's going to be
square root of 5 over 5.
square root of 5 over 5.
That was such as.
So then I've got to square this and add it together, which we've already squared 2 root 5 one time, so it's 20. Then 5 squared is 25, so it's 20 over 25. Minus square root of 5 times square root of 5 is 5 over 25. So that's going to be 15 over 25. If I reduce that, it's 3/5.
So the answer is 3/5.
Yes.